The first dilemma is from Swaggy. Hey Jordan, the biggest obstacle in my life right now is loneliness. Back in January, I moved from the East Coast to Houston after finishing school and have struggled to meet people. I started cold approaching girls, but they always seem disinterested. It's weird because I'm over 6 feet tall, educated, and have a growing YouTube channel, yet none of them seem to ever be interested in me. Do you think that this is a me problem, or is it our society? I'm pretty sure that 80% of men are single, and I'm just so over it, man. I thought that being in a city would give me more opportunities instead of being in a small town, but nothing has changed. Well, Swaggy, I'm really glad that you submitted this dilemma because I know that there are a lot of people out there who are in your situation. I'm not sure if 80% of men or young men in particular are single, but it does seem to be a growing issue that there are a lot of young single men. A lot of young single men are struggling to find love. You're 24 years old, so you're only a year older than me. And I know from firsthand experience how difficult it can be when you're in this age range to find somebody who actually wants to be with you. And this is for a multitude of different reasons, but I also feel like a lot of those reasons are overblown. A lot of red pillers will tell you that you are not finding women because you don't have enough status, you don't have enough money. And in some cases, this could actually be true. This can be true, especially if you're in a big city like Houston or Miami, LA, New York. These are cities that generally operate based on status because they're big cities. These are the cities that people go to start their careers, and more often than not, either you're going to find career women who want to find a man to match that, or you're going to find women who want to mooch off of you for the resources that you have. But that being said, there are also a lot of other women who don't care about that. There are a lot of women who understand that, wait a minute, Swaggy is in his early 20s, so he probably doesn't have his life all together right now, and that's perfectly fine. There are a lot of women who are cognizant enough and logical enough to understand this. And what you need to understand is that the reason why you're not finding these women is because you have limiting beliefs. You see, when you brought out that statistic that 80% of men are single, you're pretty sure anyways that 80% of men are single, you are subconsciously operating based on that cynicism. And what I challenge you, as well as everybody else watching this who's in the same situation to do, is I challenge you to drop the statistics from your mind. You said that you have a growing YouTube channel. What were the chances of you growing on YouTube? Statistically speaking, what are the chances of you being monetized on YouTube? I don't know how many subscribers you have or how successful you are on YouTube, but what are the chances of you being a successful YouTuber? Slim to none. Statistically speaking, if you look at how many people are operating YouTube channels right now concurrently and how many more people are joining every single day, given that the barrier to entry is literally non-existent, it's free. If you can watch YouTube, you can make YouTube videos. Statistically speaking, you have probably a 0.00001% chance of making a living off of YouTube. And if you operate based on that statistic right there, you won't be on YouTube. You will not be doing YouTube. You'll be doing something else with your time. Because statistics like that, in that context, are demoralizing. You have to stop living based on statistics. There's a saying that men lie, women lie, and numbers don't. And that's true. Numbers do not lie, but they do tell half-truths. A lot of times, numbers don't necessarily provide the full context behind the statistic. And so what you have to understand is that the context comes from within your subconscious mind. You are simply projecting your subconscious beliefs out into your reality and looking for confirmation of them. If you believe that dating modern women is very difficult, then you are going to subconsciously seek out opportunities to prove that to yourself. And it doesn't matter how successful you are, how tall you are, what you drive. I learned this the hard way. Let me tell you a story real quick. A lot of people don't know this because I don't think I ever told this on YouTube. So this past summer 2022, I went on a date with this girl. And when I went on the date with this girl, we had already matched on Hinge, and on my Hinge profile, I had been running an experiment because I wanted to see if there was any credence to what the red pillars had been saying. So what did I do? Remember, in 2022, I had a BMW, I had my own apartment, a nice apartment at that. I had these nice clothes, the Gucci belt, and all of these more material items that I thought I could maybe use to entice more women. Now, the first red flag before I even got the date with that woman was that I got many less matches. I got so many fewer matches than I had previously when I was just this curly-haired kid living with my parents. And I remember that was the first shocker to me, was that when I showed my lifestyle, when I showed the BMW, when I showed the YouTube plaque, when I showed the Gucci belt and the nice clothes and all of that, I wasn't getting matches. And I sure as hell wasn't getting dates. But when I finally managed to get a date, I remember very, very, very vividly, the date went pretty well. The date went really well, actually. It was the first time I had ever went on a date and kissed the girl on the first date. First time I ever did that. In my head, everything went almost perfectly. Didn't get a second date. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting ghosted by her. And while I do understand that this was, in my opinion anyways, sort of divine intervention so that I could be rerouted to the person that I'm dating right now, I also like to juxtapose that experience with experiences that I had when I was 19. When, again, I was just this curly-haired kid living with my parents, wasn't making money on YouTube, I was working at H&M, but best believe that when I was 19 and 20 years old, there was never a time where I did not get a second date. Never. And mind you, it's not like I was just flaunting this lifestyle that I didn't actually have. When that girl came to my apartment and she got in my BMW, she saw that it was real. I wore the Gucci belt, I wore my nice clothes because I wanted to see what it would actually do. And all it did was not get me a second date. That's all it did, was not get me a second date. Some women are simply not into that. Some women don't care about how successful your YouTube channel is or what type of clothes you wear. Some women care about your personality. As a matter of fact, I would reckon that a lot of women care about your personality, but you're subconsciously seeking out the ones that don't. In other words, it's a you problem. Moving from a small town to Houston isn't going to fix that. Moving from Houston to Paris isn't going to fix that. You can't outrun yourself. You cannot outrun your own belief systems. And the moment that you understand this is the moment that you begin to take accountability and you begin to change the internal rather than just the external. That doesn't mean that you don't take care of yourself physically anymore and you don't dress nicely and you don't nourish your YouTube channel, but you're not doing it to get women because you understand that being successful on YouTube for the sake of getting women is only going to attract the types of women that you don't actually want to be with, the types of women who you can't wife up, the types of women who will leave you and take half of what you own, including your YouTube channel. So, in other words, you need to focus on figuring out why you have this level of cynicism. Maybe you had bad experiences with women when you were younger. Maybe you were exposed to shady women when you were younger. Maybe you've overconsumed red pill content. Red pill is keeping a lot of you young men single. Believe me when I tell you that, because I was one of them. If you're carrying all of this resentment and this cynicism, you are not going to find love. Even if love finds you, you'll simply reject it. In the same way that if you're cynical about your YouTube channel growing, if you're constantly thinking about how slim of a chance you actually have of being successful on YouTube, then you're not going to be successful on YouTube. You're not going to be able to make a living from it because you're going to psych yourself out. You're going to demoralize yourself with these arbitrary half-truth statistics. Stop living your life based on statistics, especially when it comes to something as abstract and subjective as romance, as love. Now, as far as loneliness goes, you need to learn to love being alone. Now, how do you go about doing that? A lot of people talk about this, but a lot of people don't tell you how to do this. How do you go about being comfortable being alone, being in solitude? Well, the answer is simple. You think about all of the things that you would do, non-sexually anyways, if you had a girlfriend, and you just go and do those things. That's literally it. Go and do those things alone. If you would take your girl to the art museum, go to the art museum once a week. If you would take your girl out to eat once a week, go out to eat, to the movies, so on and so forth. Go and do the things that Swaggy loves to do. Whatever you would do with your girlfriend, go and do those things by yourself. And It may seem bold, it may seem audacious. You might be embarrassed at first, but you will get used to it. And what's going to end up happening is, instead of having these cold approaches, which I am not a very big proponent of, by the way, instead of having these cold approaches where you're literally just accosting some random girl on the street, now you're going to run across women who you actually have shared interests with. If you have a passion for bowling and you go bowling twice a week and you run across a woman maybe 2 or 3 times at that same bowling alley, maybe you strike up a conversation with her. And what do you talk about? You talk about bowling, right? And you seem like somebody who's relatively self-assured and somebody who isn't really scared to talk to women, but for anybody who is afraid to talk to women, that's a very good way to get over that initial barrier. Instead of trying to cold approach women with these weak ass pickup lines, talk to them about the things that you're mutually passionate about. And if you don't have any mutual passions, maybe you shouldn't be talking to her.